Good morning, it's 7 o'clock on Monday the 28th of January. You're listening to BBC Radio Leicester. If you're struggling to get in and out of Leicester on the roads this morning, then let us know.
Every morning, the East Midlands wakes up under a cloud.
From 15 years ago to now, with the increase of cars and particularly diesel cars, we are seeing more patients that are having problems with their breathing.
This map shows the rapid build-up of commuter traffic, reaching a peak at rush hour. And all those exhaust fumes mean that two of our big cities are now breathing in record quantities of one particular noxious gas. It's called nitrogen dioxide, and it's invisible.
But according to the latest figures, Leicester has the highest level in England, and Nottingham has the second highest.
In fact, they have some of the highest levels in Europe, putting them 9th and 11th in a table of European cities. So what's the problem with nitrogen dioxide?
Well, the health risks still aren't fully understood, but we do know that even in healthy people, just 30 minutes of exposure is all it takes to irritate the lungs and the throat. And it can cause real problems for people with existing respiratory conditions, such as asthma. Now, I'm asthmatic, and I'd really like to find out more.
Nine-year-old Adam has asthma too. His is severe. He relies on his family to keep a close eye on his breathing.
I think when you first started having them, we all panicked with him. But after that, we all learned to control ourselves. So we knew what to do. We knew what to resort to. And normally after that, he was fine anyway. But there was more or less someone with him all the time.
We off to school now? Yeah. Right.
5 doors down is Uza, Adam's best friend and asthma buddy. Both are now so used to their condition, they'd never leave home without their inhalers.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of these fumes are making his asthma worse and probably bringing the condition on.
Each morning, the two friends walk 800 yards to Shenton Primary School, which is close to a busy main road.
Normally, I just take my brown pump every day, 4 times a day, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and my asthma will keep control of itself.
And what I'll do is take it at morning, take it at night, but if it's really bad, then I'll take it every 2 hours.
What isn't known is how high the pollution levels are directly outside their school. And along with the University of Leicester, that's what we intend to find out.
So this is something we call a NOx box. It measures NO and NO2. I'll use this to complement what I'm measuring using other instruments and find out exactly how the chemistry is working in the atmosphere.
Over the next week, Kate will be trying to find out what's in the air they breathe.
We have over 450 children within the school, and many of them live very close to the road as well. So in terms of the long-term effects, very concerned.
In 2011, here on St Matthew's Way, which is just round the corner from Shenton Primary School, the nitrogen dioxide levels exceeded the European limit on 209 separate occasions. The question is why, after so many years of trying to lower it, is it still so high?
The answer could lie at the heart of the diesel engine. Since 2000, levels of other harmful pollutants have dropped, while nitrogen dioxide levels haven't. So what's different? The number of diesel cars sold today make up half of the total, from just 14% in 2000.
Now, I'm one of the millions of people who bought a diesel car in the last 10 years. Diesel engines release less carbon dioxide than petrol engines, and they're more fuel efficient. But unlike petrol cars, they release nitrogen dioxide at a level that has barely changed in 15 years.
Dr. James Tate is an expert who's been trying to work out why the levels haven't come down, despite the millions of pounds spent by the car manufacturers to meet EU emission standards.
Okay, modern diesel vehicles have been fitted with, as you can see here, we've got a particle filter has been fitted to strip out most of the particles that are coming out of the engine, and it's been doing quite a good job at that. But a kind of byproduct of this whole emission control system is that levels of nitrogen dioxide at the tailpipe have been actually increasing. There's quite a tricky balancing act between saving fuel, cutting down particle emissions, but also reducing levels of nitrogen dioxide. And if you improve one, it might be at the detriment of another, and that has been the case for nitrogen dioxide in recent years. Modern diesel cars are very efficient and good at driving up and down the motorway, for example, and on trunk roads, but in city driving, their emission controls and their emission performance are far from desirable.
Here at the Glenfield Hospital, they run a weekly asthma clinic. Jan Chantrell has worked here in Leicester as an asthma nurse for 20 years.
What strength red one are you using? 400/12. You just got to keep an eye on it then. 50 years ago, you had very few patients with asthma, or you go to a classroom or whatever, and there'd be perhaps 1, 2 patients that had asthma. Now, there's 1 or 2 that haven't.
Back at Shenton Primary School, the experiment is finished. The results are in.
There were a couple of days where we've had some quite high levels. The sort of levels where we really wouldn't want it to stay at that level all day. You're getting spikes when there's a lot more traffic, in the mornings and the evening at rush hour. So at these times we are seeing high pollution on some days, sometimes twice as high as other days. So it does vary from day to day.
So, on some mornings, every breath people take of the air here is pulling harmful pollutants into their lungs. Levels so high, the World Health Organization specifically lists that amount of nitrogen dioxide as damaging to humans. This map shows a snapshot of Leicester, and Shenton Primary lies on the Humberston Road, right on the edge of this red area. Nitrogen dioxide is a problem across the continent. But what is it about Leicester and Nottingham that make them the most polluted cities in England?
Many of the cities in the Midlands expanded during the Victorian era with the suburbs around the edges, but the businesses and the shops in the middle of the cities. That means that at certain times of day you're funneling large volumes of traffic down into the centre of these cities, which leads you to form a pollution hotspot, particularly with respect to NO2.
So there is a problem, and the City Council here is aware of it. But what are they doing to fix it?
There's different ways of looking at this data, and I think if you look at some of the data we capture, it may challenge some of the data that we see from other sources. But as I said, I don't deny there's a challenge here, but it's a challenge we're determined to address.
By challenge, do you mean that you have very high levels of nitrogen dioxide?
Well, clearly the data would suggest that's the case. If we want to reduce nitrogen dioxide, we have to see big improvements in the emissions from vehicles or reduce the amount of traffic on our roads, and that's something we're trying to do as well.
Air pollution costs the UK an estimated £20 billion a year. It's recognised by the government as the second biggest public health threat after smoking. But the uncomfortable fact is that most of us are addicted to our cars, and unless new technology comes along, children like Adam and Uza will continue to pay the price.